Empty hands stand open to the morning air, palms pale as unfinished prayers, holding nothing but the echo of wanting. The sun rises anyway, indifferent and kind, pouring gold into spaces I cannot keep. I walk with pockets full of silence, coins of yesterday clinking in memory, each step a question without a mouth. The road knows my name better than people do. It bends when I bend. It waits when I stop. Empty hands once learned the weight of hope, how it feels before it learns to fall. They remember warmth like a rumor, like a fire told in winter stories, like a promise written in breath. Empty heart, a room with open windows, curtains breathing in and out of loss. Wind brings voices I almost recognize, leaves letters I never sent. Dust settles like time refusing to leave. I tried to stitch the sky into my sleeves, tried to hide the night in my chest. But stars slip through fingers that shake, and darkness always knows its way home. There was a day I believed in arrival, in doors that opened to stay open. I believed hands were made to be filled, that hearts were cups never meant to crack, that love was a language without accent. Now I count hours like spilled grain. Birds eat what they want and fly. Nothing stays long enough to be owned. Everything stays long enough to hurt, then leaves its shape behind. Empty hands clap for no one. Applaud survival, applaud breathing. Even pain deserves a small mercy. Even sorrow wants to be seen. Even shadows ask for light. I have shaken hands with absence. It grips firmly. It does not lie. It says, learn to stand without leaning. Learn to walk without applause. Learn to drink from your own silence. Empty heart, I knock from the inside, asking who still lives here. Echo answers in familiar tone, wearing my voice like an old coat, saying, stay, stay, stay. Some nights the moon feels heavy, as if it might fall into my hands. I raise them instinctively, forgetting, remembering too late their emptiness, remembering too early my need. I have loved like a beggar loves bread, with gratitude mixed with fear. I have lost like a river loses water, continuing anyway, pretending the banks are enough. Empty hands learn new skills, how to let go before holding, how to wave goodbye without breaking, how to pray without asking, how to forgive without witnesses. Empty heart becomes a teacher, strict but honest in its lessons. It says, fullness is not the goal, truth is lighter than possession, and loneliness can still be clean. I watch children chase their laughter, catch it, drop it, chase again. They know nothing of keeping. Everything is temporary and bright. Everything is allowed to end. My hands ache for that wisdom. My heart aches for that ease. Instead, I inventory memories, what was said, what was meant, what never learned to exist. Empty hands still feel the rain, each drop a small confession. The sky gives without asking return, teaching generosity by example, teaching loss without shame. Empty heart listens to the rain, how it falls and never apologizes, how it leaves puddles like mirrors, showing me a face still breathing, still capable of standing. I have carried stones of regret, thrown them into future days. They sink without sound. The future barely ripples. Time refuses to accuse me. Empty hands now rest at my sides, not raised, not hidden. They are simply hands, human and unfinished, ready for whatever does not come. Empty heart beats anyway, stubborn as a drum in fog. Each beat says, here, each pause says, still, each breath says, enough for now. If one day something chooses to stay, my hands will not rush to close. If one day love knocks softly, my heart will not pretend to sleep. It will open without bargaining. Until then I walk light, owned by nothing but my shadow. Empty hands, empty heart, yet somehow full of footsteps, somehow alive on this long road. Morning returns like a habit I never quit, even when I tried to resign from hope. The light finds my face without permission, touches my eyes like an old friend who knows not to ask questions. Empty hands brush against the day, feeling its rough edges, its quiet mercy. They no longer beg the hours for kindness. They simply pass through them, learning the art of not demanding. I see reflections of myself in strangers, their tired smiles, their borrowed courage. We pass like verses from different poems, never finishing each other's lines, yet sharing the same silence between words. Empty heart stores sounds instead of dreams now, footsteps fading, doors closing gently, the hum of life continuing without me. There is comfort in being unnecessary, a strange freedom in not being chosen. I once feared emptiness like a verdict, as if lack was a moral failure. Now I know it is a landscape, wide enough to walk without fear, honest enough to tell me who I am. Empty hands remember the weight of names, how speaking them filled the room. Now names dissolve on my tongue, letters floating away like ash, leaving only breath behind. Empty heart becomes a field after harvest, stubble catching the last light of dusk. Nothing grows loudly here, but the soil rests, and rest is also a form of life. I sit with myself longer than before, no distractions, no borrowed joy. The silence does not bite anymore. It sits beside me, patient as a loyal animal. Empty hands trace lines on the table, imaginary maps to nowhere. I follow them with my eyes, discovering that being lost is sometimes the destination. Empty heart learns new definitions. Love without possession, loss without bitterness, faith without reward, strength without applause. The past still knocks at odd hours, wearing familiar pain like perfume. I open the door halfway, listen without inviting it in, and let it leave with dignity. Empty hands no longer tremble at goodbyes. They have practiced this gesture well. Waving has become a language, one that says, "Thank you," one that says, "I survive." Empty heart still aches at dusk, when shadows stretch like long thoughts. But the ache is softer now, less of a wound, more of a reminder that I lived. I watch the sky change its colors daily, never apologizing for impermanence. It teaches me without words that nothing owes me consistency, and beauty does not need permission. Empty hands catch moments, not things, a laugh overheard, a bird resting briefly on a wire, the smell of earth after rain, the calm of not being rushed. Empty heart becomes a witness, not a judge, not a victim. It watches life pass like a river, sometimes shallow, sometimes cruel, always moving forward. I no longer ask when fullness will arrive or what shape it will take. Perhaps fullness is this acceptance, this quiet agreement with reality, this courage to remain open. Empty hands are still open, not in need, not in pride. They are simply ready for pain, for peace, for nothing at all, for whatever truth comes next. Empty heart continues its rhythm, soft, uncelebrated, faithful. It does not promise happiness, only presence, only the will to keep breathing. And so I walk again into tomorrow, lighter than yesterday, carrying nothing but awareness. Empty hands, empty heart, yet still enough to be human. The day unfolds without ceremony, no drums, no banners, just time stretching its quiet spine. I step into it like a guest who knows not to overstay. Empty hands learn the weight of air, how even nothing presses back. They feel the pulse of the world through doors, through walls, through moments that do not pause. I pass a mirror and hesitate. The face there looks familiar, older in the eyes, younger in expectations, balanced somewhere between hope and surrender. Empty heart carries scars like bookmarks, marking chapters one never reread. Some stories taught me how to feel, others taught me how to survive. None taught me how to forget. I walk past places where laughter lived, where promises once practiced their voices. The ground holds no memory of me, yet my chest remembers every step, every almost, every never. Empty hands close briefly at dusk, not to grasp, but to rest. Even openness needs a pause, even giving up needs gentleness, even strength needs sleep. Empty heart beats slower in the evening, listening to the language of shadows. They stretch without asking, they claim walls and corners, they fade when light decides to return. I learned that longing is not weakness, it is evidence of depth. Only empty things do not ache, only hollow lives feel nothing, only closed hearts remain untouched. Empty hands have touched enough endings to recognize beginnings in disguise. They know some arrivals were silence, Some blessings arrive disguised as loss, some doors close to save us. Empty heart begins to trust time, not as a healer, but as a companion. Time does not fix me, it simply stays while I change. I sit beneath the same sky as yesterday, yet it feels new again. The clouds do not remember me, still they travel with dignity, teaching me how to leave softly. Empty hands gather patience like dust, slowly, without noticing. One day I realize I am calmer, less eager to be filled, less afraid to be seen as lacking. Empty heart loosens its grip on why, those sharp questions that bled me dry. Some answers never arrive, and peace comes not from knowing, but from releasing the demand to know. I have mistaken noise for meaning before, crowds for belonging, touch for connection. Now silence feels honest, and solitude feels chosen. Empty hands no longer envy fullness, they understand its weight now. They have seen hands break under too much holding, under love that refused to breathe. Empty heart keeps a small flame inside, not hope, not despair, just awareness. It burns quietly, asking only for honesty. When pain returns, as it sometimes does, I welcome it without ceremony. Pain is a messenger, not an enemy. It leaves once heard. Empty hands wipe away old fears, like chalk from a board. Tomorrow will write new equations, and I will solve them with whatever I have left. Empty heart accepts its own rhythm, not matching anyone else's song. Some hearts race, some rest, mine simply continues. I stand at the edge of another moment, nothing promised, nothing owed. Empty hands, empty heart, still standing, still open, still quietly alive. Night arrives without asking my consent, soft as a habit I no longer resist. Stars scatter like unspoken thoughts, each one distant, each one minding its own loneliness. Empty hands feel colder after sunset, as if darkness has weight. They tuck themselves into stillness, not seeking warmth from others, learning to generate their own. Empty heart listens to the quiet closely, hearing what noise once drowned out. There are truths hidden in pauses, confessions buried in breaths, answers shaped like acceptance. I remember how I used to chase tomorrow, as if today were an enemy. Now I let hours pass beside me, sit with them like strangers on a bench, sharing nothing but presence. Empty hands once reached too fast, mistaking urgency for destiny. Now they wait until moments approach, until meaning introduces itself, until desire learns patience. Empty heart releases old comparisons, those cruel mirrors of almost and not enough. No two lives walk the same weather, no two souls carry the same load, and mine is finally allowed to be mine. I walk through memories without unpacking, nod at them like passing neighbors. Some smile back, some turn away, all continue on their separate paths. Empty hands carry no trophies, yet they hold experience in their lines. Each crease a lesson, each scar a sentence, each tremble a reminder of survival. Empty heart learns that peace is quiet, rarely dramatic, never loud. It arrives unnoticed, then stays if not disturbed. I watch the city dim its lights, windows blinking like tired eyes. Everyone retreats into their stories, and I return to mine, unfinished but still breathing. Empty hands rest on my chest, feeling the steady proof of life. Nothing grand, nothing heroic, just persistence beating softly. Empty heart forgives itself tonight, for hoping too much, for trusting too deeply, for breaking honestly, for remaining open anyway. If tomorrow brings nothing new, I will still rise. If it brings loss, I will still stand. If it brings love, I will meet it without fear. Empty hands, empty heart. No longer a sentence of sorrow, but a statement of truth. I am not full, yet I am real, and for now, that is enough. Dawn comes again, faithful and quiet, as if it never heard my doubts. Light spills across the floor like forgiveness, touching corners I forgot existed, asking nothing in return. Empty hands greet the morning slowly, stretching fingers into possibility. They do not rush toward purpose. They let the day introduce itself. They let meaning arrive barefoot. Empty heart wakes without armor. No shields, no rehearsed strength. It beats in its natural voice, not louder, not braver, just honest enough to be heard. I sip time the way others sip tea, carefully, aware of its heat. Each moment leaves a warmth behind, even when it burns, even when it fades too soon. Empty hands once feared being useless. Now they know rest is not failure. Stillness is not surrender. Waiting is not weakness. And emptiness is not absence of worth. Empty heart watches birds argue with the sky, then forgive it by flying anyway. No grudges, no explanations, just wings trusting air, just faith practiced in motion. I walk past yesterday without bowing. It no longer owns my posture. What happened shaped me, but it does not command me, and that freedom feels earned. Empty hands have learned to bless silently, wishing strangers well without words. Kindness no longer needs witnesses. It feels complete simply existing, like a candle burning alone. Empty heart softens toward itself, finally speaking without cruelty. It says, you tried, it says, you endured, it says, you are allowed to rest. There are moments I still feel hollow, like rooms waiting for furniture. But I no longer rush to fill them. Space has its own elegance, and patience its own furniture. Empty hands touch the earth deliberately, feeling its firmness, its promise. The ground never abandons me, no matter how often I fall. It waits to receive me again. Empty heart trusts gravity now, lets tears fall when they need to. Nothing breaks from honest release, pressure fades, and breathing becomes lighter. I have stopped measuring myself against fullness I do not own. My life is not a shortage, it is a different shape, and shapes need no apology. Empty hands carry tomorrow lightly, not gripping, not fearing. Whatever comes will come honestly, and honesty is easier to hold than illusion ever was. Empty heart closes this chapter gently, without dramatic endings. Some stories simply continue breathing, unfinished yet meaningful, open yet complete in their own way. I stand again in the middle of now, no crowd, no spotlight, no proof required. Empty hands, empty heart. Still standing, still open, still quietly choosing to live.